Hello guys, this is the first installment of Up to Spec with Seth, and today we're going to be talking about meters and gain. Meters, what are they? They are basically a measurement representing how loud a source is being captured by a microphone. That's as general as it gets, but we also have to be aware of the measurements of loudness and be cautious that there is plenty out there. But there's only two that you really need to care about in this industry, and that's going to be the volume unit, or VU, and the decibel, or dB. We need to make sure that the VU meter, which is actually found on most analog or older musical equipment, such as actually the mixing console that we have at CGSW, has to only peak at 0. We can average between -10 and 0, but we never want to be going above 0 often. You can go to +1, rarely, but you don't want to be always in that high red zone on a VU meter. But why is that? Well, it's actually because in dB, 0 VU is equivalent to -22 to -18 dB. And if clipping in dB is at absolutely 0, we actually have a lot of headroom to be a little bit louder. What do I mean by this? Well, you'll see up there that there's a dB meter, and that meter is coming a reading from Audacity, which is going to be the DAW or recording software for today's tutorial. And you'll see that I'm averaging around -18 dB, rarely touching -12, and that's the equivalent of basically having the 0 on the VU meter rarely getting touched. So make sure that you remember that. You don't want to be going into the red too much on the VU meter readings on your mixing console, or in your DAW or recording software. You want to be somewhere between -20 and -18. I'm going to be turning on my phone camera so that you can also see the other meters that you may or may not have access to, depending on if you have a build of your own at home or if you want to have a few more examples so that you can visually see that as long as your gain has been set up correctly, all the other meters are going to be reading the exact same. So let's turn on my phone camera. The quality will drop a little bit, but don't worry, I'll be reading the labels out. Over here on my left is going to be my microphone preamps. The one that's at the bottom is the one you're going to want to care about the most. It's one single lonely green light that lights up, and rarely 2 or 3 green lights will light up. You'll see here, this is my mixer, and there is going to be one set of green lights that are lighting up, and rarely you're going to see 3 of them go up if I go a little bit louder. Then here's the meter on my interface. It's the exact same meter actually as the meter that you see on the top over there that Audacity uses. Actually, all of these meters are the same reading. They all use decibels, and they're all just saying that I'm talking at an average level of -18 to -12. And if I get a little bit excited, just a little bit, talking about the game right now, there's a beautiful pass coming in from player 14, passing it to his teammate, number 12, and it looks like he was able to score. What a beautiful goal coming in from number 12. You'll see that the meters are all moving and peaking at the same amount. And that's the key to setting up the right proper level or the right proper gain. And it's very reliant on how much mic technique you are employing, and also strictly the distance or how loud you're speaking. So when you're setting up the gain, you're going to want to make sure that you have a really good understanding of what is your calm, normal speaking voice. For me, I've been doing this for quite a few years now, and me speaking at this distance, which is pretty damn close to the microphone, can only be done because I know how loud I have to speak, so that way I can achieve this distance from the microphone. Some people may need to be a little bit more further away because they speak a little bit louder, or they don't really have the vocal control yet for their voice's volume. So in which case, a fist, no more than a fist, is maybe the maximum amount of distance that you can move away from the microphone. That way, if you are too loud, you can get a reading and a level that way. But this is important. When you're setting up the fader on the mixing console, it is going to be that level that is actually set in relations to how far away you are from the microphone. In other words, I have to always be this distance. I have to always control the volume of my voice in order for that fader to stay where it is, so I always get a proper reading or level. We're going to be setting up a microphone, the same microphone that we actually have at CGSW. That way we can get a proper, very close, one-to-one tutorial. It just so happens that I had the same model microphone that CGSW has, because this is actually not only a broadcasting standard, but also a standard microphone for music production. So I'll be setting up this microphone's gain the same way that you guys would at CGSW. I'll be turning on my phone again so that you guys can see. I'll be manipulating a dial, which is actually right underneath me. That is the microphone preamp for the Shure SM7B. And as I'm talking at this distance, which is not going to change from both the microphones and at this desired level, I'm going to be turning up the gain knob. And as you can see, as I turn up the gain knob, there's not really a lot of action happening just yet, but around here, there it is. At this distance, and at how loud I'm speaking right now, both of these microphones have been set up for my voice. At this distance, at this volume, at that gain level. That's what's really important. As you set up the gain, that means you have to be always at that distance from the microphone, and you also have to maintain that same volume. So I'm going to now unmute the Shure SM7B, and I'm going to mute my Shure SM58, the microphone that we've been using for this tutorial. I'm going to be cut off, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to move the fader up, so that way the meter that's on the top there for Audacity is going to be the same on average as it was for the Shure SM58. So I'm going to now unmute the Shure SM7B, and I'm now going to mute my Shure SM58, and you will not be able to. And as I move the fader up, I'm going to be paying attention to the final meter and see if I'm going to be averaging around -18 when I'm the same distance away from the microphone as I was with the other. And it looks like I found the right level. I wasn't holding the phone camera too well, but as you can see, I didn't have to move this fader up as much as I had to move the other microphone. And just know that this is a very common thing. This can happen, but it's also, again, reliant on how loud you are and how far away you are from the microphone. So the way that I've set up the fader for this microphone is perfect for my voice at this volume, at this distance. And you'll be able to tell as well, because the meter on the mixing board, although it is in dB and it's not in VU like the one at CGSW, the reading should still be around the same. So there it is, -20. The bottom pair of green LED lights are lighting up, and then rarely the other two above it light up. And then on the preamp over here, or you can see it down there, -20 is always going to be on when I talk, and then -10 often lights up, and rarely 0 is going to light up, or the orange LED. And then over here on my interface, you'll see that the meter it's a little tinier than the meter that's up there on Audacity, but they're going to be the same. I'm going to be talking on average, and it looks like it's very low, around -18, and then rarely, as I get louder, it's going to get a little bit higher. So that is the basics of setting up the gain for a microphone. You guys have learned that a certain distance has to be maintained, and also a certain volume as well when setting up the gain. The general rule of thumb is this: the further away from the microphone you are, the more gain that's going to be required. And actually, the more vocal control that's going to be required. Being the optimal fist away from the microphone is still going to require the same amount of vocal technique and control as being further away. But actually, it isn't going to be as noticeable when you're further away because the gain is going to be not really compensating for you being so far away. The closer you are to the microphone, the lower the gain has to be because the closer you are, the louder the source is going to be being picked up. So, make sure that you're as comfortably close to the microphone as much as possible. Make sure that you're talking at a general volume that is comfortable for your voice. Set up the gain the way that you would, which in our case at CGSW, our mixing consoles only have one means of manipulating gain, and that's going to be the fader. So move the fader until the VU meter only peaks at 0, rarely 1 plus 1. Or look at your recording software or your DAW, which again can be Pro Tools, Ableton, Logic, Audacity, like in this tutorial, and see that you're only around -18 and rarely touching -12. And that's it. That's how you set up the gain for a microphone. And that's how you read and utilize your meters to get the proper level for your voice. Thanks for watching this tutorial. I hope to make a few more in the future that will help you guys understand more microphone techniques to get you more comfortable in the booth.